All right, good deal. Let's dive in. All right. Well, our welcome back to school with Vivi review session should take about 45 minutes or so. I am recording, and again, we'll be sending this out afterwards by tomorrow afternoon typically. So you should have access to the recording. So if you need to reference back on anything, you can do so. If you have any questions at any point, feel free to utilize the Zoom chat. I will be pausing periodically to address any questions or comments. So feel free to place anything in there that you need. If you have access to your Vivi app and you want to click along as I go, you are more than welcome to do so. All right. Just making sure everyone got in okay. All right, very cool. A little bit about myself. My name is Megan Kirsch. I'm the professional services specialist here with Vivi, and I am a former classroom teacher, taught middle school and high school English for a bit, worked in higher education for a while before transitioning to ed tech. So hopefully I can help put things in perspective, let things make a little bit more sense without being super technical, and hopefully we can have a little fun along the way. All right, let's dive in. Just to recap, or if you're new to Vivi, the Vivi solution is comprised of 3 parts, and the whole main component of Vivi is we are a wireless screen mirroring solution that allows a teacher to be able to leverage their technology on the classroom display without having cables and cords and wires attached to their computer. When I was teaching, technology back in the early 2000s wasn't nearly what it is now. And so I was stuck in the front corner of my room where my computer was, where my TV was, to do anything. Now you have free reign. You can grab your laptop, walk around, grab your tablet, walk around, do whatever you want to do to make your class experience what you want it to be. In order for that to work, you have to have a Vivi box. So in my hands is this lovely Vivi box. This connects to your display in your classroom and the school's internet. This is where all the magic happens and allows the wireless component to occur. The second part is the app, and that is what we're spending our time on today, going through all of the various features. This is the control tool that is downloaded for free on any device, on any platform for students and teachers. And then the third part is Vivi Central. This is the administration platform. This is where all the user settings are determined. There's also a small section under the feedback component where teachers can access previous data for any assessments and polls that they might have launched. If we have time, I'll point that out. But if we don't, just know that that feature exists. All right, and without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the app. So I have pulled up and I've logged into my Vivi Classroom. Let me go back just in case, just to review. I logged in. I've navigated through my drop downs here in my building. I work in the middle school. I'm the only teacher here, apparently. And in case you haven't done this yet, highly recommend selecting the star by your room so that it will be placed under the favorites list. This way you can just click on the favorite room when you log in, and then it takes a lot less time to get both you and your students in the right place. Once you're in the right place, you will see all of the various features on the home page. Keep in mind, screenshot is not activated because I am not actively sharing my screen. Once my screen is being shared to my classroom display, teachers and students in my room, my Vivi room, will be able to take a screenshot from their app. To share screens, we're going to go and just click on this share screen icon. However, before I do like to mention that it is beneficial to have whatever it is that you plan to share on your desktop first. So I have a graphic organizer here on figurative language, want to go through it and review with my class. I've pulled it up on my desktop. I'm going back to my Vivi app, and now I'm just going to click share screen, and voila, I am now sharing to my display, my classroom display, which is right behind my shoulder, and my students can see what I want them to see. There are a variety of different features within this toolbar. If you want to stop sharing, hit stop. You need to go back to the home page, you can hit home. This is a floating toolbar, so you can move it around. If it's in your way, regardless, you can hit hide and it'll hide in the taskbar. Just go back down there and grab it when you're ready for it. One of my most favorite features within sharing my screen using Vivi is the fact that I can leverage my device to do other things while my students are focused on whatever I have on the display for them. So, in order to do so, I just need to hit pause. If I hit pause, my display will stay the same as it was before I hit pause. And now I can open up other applications, other things. I can submit attendance, check an email, get my next lesson started, whatever it might be. And my students don't know. The caveat, before you're ready to resume sharing your screen, pull back up whatever it was or whatever it is that you want them to see once you hit unpause. Pull back your taskbar, hit unpause. And now your students are none the wiser. So that can be a really great tool to use. Again, that pause feature to pause your screen to allow you to do other things. This is for typically just static images. So this isn't multimedia. This is simply an image that you want on your classroom display. You do also have the ability to expand this toolbar. There are some additional options here, typically for multimedia content. If you are going to stream or play any movie content through share screen like I'm doing now, I do recommend hit movie mode before you do. It will allow about a 2 to 3 second buffer for your files to sync so that when you play, there's little to no disruption and it's a smoother process. If you did not want your students to have the ability to capture a screenshot while you're actively sharing, privacy mode will disable that. You have privacy mode icons in this toolbar. There's privacy mode icons in the play video feature as well. So screenshots can be very beneficial for learning engagement. However, sometimes maybe it's not appropriate or you're sharing sensitive info and you don't want that to get out. Last but not least is annotate. You can select the option to pull a screenshot and annotate live in the Vivi app if you wanted to do so. You also can hit screenshot by going back to the home page. Since I'm actively sharing my screen, I didn't hit pause, so now I'm on my main app. So let me actually, oops, let me go back and do this the right way. All right, Vivi teacher toolbar, here we go, pause. All right, and I'm gonna go home. Here we go. So now I'm back on the home page. I can hit screenshot from this screen. And I now have the screenshot saved locally to my computer.
That's the thing, the phone is not on. Yeah. It's not plugged in. Because I know the phone is plugged into.
So now I can go ahead and with that screenshot, which I just missed the ability. So give me a second. Let me do it again. There we go. I can hit annotate. I just screenshotted my background. That's fine. I've been having a technical difficulty day today. So I'll go ahead and share this to my display, and let's just pretend I wanted to annotate my my desktop background. I now have all the tools that I have available in the whiteboard to do so. You have the pen tool, you have the highlighter, there are shapes, there's the text tool. So you can basically grab anything that's being shared, whether you're sharing and maybe pulling things from the internet or media sources. If your students are sharing, you can do that with their work as well. There's a lot of opportunities here to leverage this feature. You have the ability to save any annotations you make directly to your device or a cloud service if you wish by selecting the More Options menu in the toolbar. If at any point you wanted to not be actively sharing your screen while you're annotating, just hit that Stop Presenting icon, make your changes. If you wanted to then resume share, you can from the upper right corner, or if you were done, you can go ahead and hit back. Losing my mouse today. My goodness gracious. All right. And clear your whiteboard. There we go. Now I'm back on the home page. All right. I don't know about y'all, but I've been having just a week of fun tech situations. It's been great. All right. So that was sharing screen. Again, pull up the item you want, hit share screen. You can screenshot, you can annotate when you are actively sharing. The fun part about sharing screens and engaging with Vivi with students is that students have the ability to share their screens as well. So if they have access to Vivi in your classroom and they have created some great work or they're working on some activities and you want to enable a nice class discussion or have that presentation component, students don't have to get up in front of the class. A lot of times kids these days don't seem really willing to do that. And so from the safety of their seat, they can share and engage with you and others through their Vivi app. So when you go to the Give Student Control field, you will be able to see on the right-hand side all of the students that are logged into your classroom. Ideally, this will be the correct roster. If for some reason you have a student in your room that shouldn't be there, click that X by their name and it'll disconnect them from your room and they'll be back in the lobby page to go ahead and find their correct room or wait till the next day when they can rejoin your session. Sometimes that happens during passing periods and so forth. But I have 2 students in my room and students can either be assigned access to the display or they can ask for access. So my student Herbert here just asked for access to the display. He has a homework assignment project that he's so excited about. He really wants to share. If at any point you have students in control requests and you're not ready or intending to have them share, you can click that cancel request button and it puts them back in the queue. But let's say I do want them to share. So I can either click on his name just anywhere in this bar, or if I'm suspicious of what he wants to share, I can select the preview icon. And once my student approves the share, because he is on a Chromebook, and Chromebooks have an extra step built in, it's a Google Chromebook thing, where they have to explicitly give permission through the Chromebook to share. So now that he's done that, I can see on my Vivi app, the preview, yes, it is appropriate. This is what was the assignment, and I feel comfortable allowing him on the display. I'll click share screen, and now he's on my screen. Herbert runs through his presentation. Everyone's excited. Yay, Herbert. And he's done and hits stop sharing. He's like, okay, I'm done. My display goes back to normal. But if we notice on my app here, he's still listed as in control. So it's very important that you monitor this field and make sure that you revoke control by clicking the X to move the student back into the queue. If not, they can resume sharing at any point. They also will have access to like the message class feature and other things. So just something to keep in mind. Additionally, if you haven't tried this out, highly recommend it this year. You have the ability to leverage what we call split screen, in which you can have up to 4 different users simultaneously sharing your screen to the display. And this can be a combination of teachers, students, and a mixed match of every other combination you can think of. The only caveat is you all have to be logged in to the same Vivi room. So that includes co-teachers, anything like that. When I hit the split screen icon, I'm first going to position my students. So I'm going to pick the quadrant that I want them each to go into. So Herbert's going to go here. He's going to approve it and hit share. There we go. All right. I got Herbert in one corner. I'm going to go ahead and put Caitlin in another corner. And Caitlin and I are sharing a computer, so it may or may not work, and it's not working. Let's try this again. All right, I had this problem yesterday. It's because I have two versions of the app at the same time on the same device. Don't recommend that. Don't do that. So let's just say it's myself and a student as the teacher. So I have my student in his quadrant, and now I want to add myself. In order for the teacher to add themselves to the split screen, you're going to need to hit the home button. And then instead of just quickly clicking share screen, you're going to press and release. And now I have the option to put myself in a quadrant as well. There we go. And so now I am sharing between two students, actually a student and myself, and we can go from there. And you can repeat that again with 4 people. Just make sure you're all on your own computer. And now you can do whatever it is that you would like to do. The more you do it, and especially the younger kids, I've been amazed by how well they pick this up. Usually it takes a couple times of logging in and navigating and being able to click back and forth, and they're off and running. They pick it up faster than I do. So that's typically true with most kids. So definitely try it out, and especially play around with it with including yourself in the share mix. Now, an additional feature. So we shared screen as a teacher. We showed how to share screens with students and how to mix the two together. Play video is a really fun component that I really wished I had had as a teacher. Unfortunately, I was way before the technology vamped up before I left the classroom. But one way to be able to leverage your display to play multimedia content, but then you can still do other things, is play video direct. Now, this feature right now only works with unprotected content, and that would mean like YouTube and Vimeo, anything that is not behind a paywall or subscription. We are in the process of revamping this feature and really bringing extra components to it so you can really make a robust lesson plan with different types of content so that you can really maximize this feature. More information to come. That should be ready by the end of the year, not school year, but calendar year. And we'll definitely let you know when that happens. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and use some YouTube links that I found that I want to use in my lesson. And when I first came on board with Vivi and somebody mentioned, YouTube was mentioned, I kind of made a face because that's what I'm good at. And I was like, oof, I said, I taught middle school, like kids, they would get a glimpse of one little tiny thing in a corner and then just run with it. And I'm like, no, that's not what we're talking about. Let's get back on track. When you use this feature, students won't have any idea you're on YouTube. They won't see any ads. They won't see any suggested content. It's a very, very clean process so that they're only seeing what you want them to see. So all you do is copy and paste the browser link for your video. So here we go, pasted that below. I'm going to hit add to queue because I want to add 2. I'm going to go to my next link, copy paste. There we go. And you can add as many as you want. You're not limited here, but I'm just going to do 2 for time's sake. Now that I have my links ready to go, I'm just going to hit play queue. At the bottom of your display, you will see a little notification that it's loading and checking video, and that is the act of removing that suggested content. And so now your students only see in full screen mode what it was that you wanted them to see. There is absolutely no indication that I'm on YouTube and my students can just focus on the task at hand. Now, again, while this content is playing, because I'm in this feature, I can go ahead, minimize my app. I can, again, pull up my Word document that's blank and pretend I'm going to do something with it. But I can now work on other things. If I had to, get some parent communication out, I can knock that out. I can go ahead and enter in my attendance, whatever I need to do. And my students don't know. And again, I'm multitasking and making best use of my time. So I think that's a great feature. Back in the day with an HDMI cable, I was stuck. I just had to sit there and be like, we're all watching this 8 periods a day. So this really helps to maximize your time while you're in class and using different resources for your instruction. Now, this toolbar down here, you do have some options. So again, we have our little friend privacy mode. If you didn't want students engaging with taking screenshots while they're supposed to be watching the video, feel free to turn that on. However, you can usually leverage some great classroom activities with screenshots. Just a little heads up on that. So keep that in mind. You can also toggle on closed captions. I'm a big fan of closed captions. If closed captions are embedded in the original content and you select this in the Vivi app, it will start to play. It is unfortunately like a white on white right now behind me, so it's hard to tell, but I can see them. One thing to caution against is this stop button. If you've ever tried using this feature and you put together some awesome links and you had to pause real quick to address the class, talk about something, if you hit stop, it's going to take you all the way back to the beginning. So pause, use the pause button. Have your discussion with your students, take care of a classroom management situation. When you're ready, hit play and it'll resume. You do not have to watch each link in its entirety. Sometimes we only need a nice little chunk or a little nugget of goodness from a particular video. You can move on by clicking next, and your next video will load automatically without delay, without ads or interruptions, just making it a very, very seamless process. I'm sorry, as a middle school and high school English teacher, I'm fascinated by like elementary level science stuff. I just find it to be so fun and wish that I had had that experience as a kid. Okay. When you're all done for the day, you can hit stop. Your display will go back to normal. You have the ability, you can save. As you can tell here, I've saved quite a lot of playlists. You can save any playlist that you would like. This question came up a few days ago, so I might as well address it with all you guys today. One question was, can I rename the links in that box? Because the YouTube link is just not very indicative of what it is that I'm playing. And I'm like, that's a great question. And unfortunately, no. Right now, when we update it in a couple months, you should have the ability to do that. However, in the meantime, a suggestion that another teacher gave me was she names her playlist the names of the videos she used in the playlist. And so that helps her to remember, what she chose. So I'm going to do American history and water song. All right. Then I'm going to hit create playlist. I get a confirmation that it was saved successfully. I can remove my links if I want and move about my day. If ever you want to delete a playlist you created, just hit that trash can and it deletes. Please note, once you delete it, it is gone forever. So delete with caution. But that is playlist. Again, multimedia content, unprotected content. It will be expanded later on, more info to come. But if you haven't tried it yet, I would recommend it. All right. We did make some updates to our whiteboard at the end of the school year last year. So you may or may not have been able to see some of those changes. If not, let me go through that now. Again, when you open up the whiteboard, it's a pretty standard whiteboard. All your tools are down here in the gray toolbar. You can minimize it or maximize it. We extended or expanded rather the options for the pen tool and all the colors. You can get really creative here and customize. The highlighter as well has different options. We added some different shapes, again, with fills, borders, all sorts of color palettes, text tool, eraser. But my favorite thing that we did is we updated some backgrounds. So previously, you may have noticed some of the templates we had built in here with lines and graph paper, but now we have some graphic organizers. I love graphic organizers. For our sports and coach folks, we've got some sports fields that some coaches have been very excited about. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and use a Venn diagram. Now, the second update we did was instead of once you choose a background, all your board pages are that background, you now can mix and match. So once you select your background, you can choose to apply to all boards. And before there was a cap at 50, and now you can go beyond that. Or you can apply to just one single board. I'm going to apply to one single board. So now I have a Venn diagram on my desktop. I'm not actively sharing my screen yet. I know this because one, I can see, but also I don't have a stop button in the corner here. I have the option to present my screen. So that's just a little tip for me that helped. If I ever wanted to know if I was actively sharing and I didn't want to keep turning around, just look for a stop button. If you don't see one, you're not sharing. So I'm going to use my text tool here and change my color. Maybe I want to do a comparison of the Barbie movie. Everyone laughs when I say that, but and Oppenheimer, because I did see both in the same day. I don't recommend it because that was a long time in the theater. Both great movies though. So let's say everyone had seen this. I want to go ahead and leverage this into a class activity. I'm going to go ahead and present my screen. Boom. Now my graphic organizer is on the display. And again, once I'm actively sharing to the display, my students have the ability to take a screenshot. And if they take a screenshot of my graphic organizer, places it on their whiteboard, on their Vivi app, and now they can use their tools to fill it out. And then theoretically, when they're done, they can ask for control and share their graphic organizer. So there's ways that you can leverage activity with independent work, or if you wanted to do this as a group, whatever you want to do, that's fine. But that's just one example of an update that we made. I'm just going to keep sharing my screen here and move on to some other fun things. With the background option, when you're ready to, let's say maybe you want to add another, actually I skipped a step. Let's say you wanted to add another board. So we filled out this graphic organizer. Now I'm moving on to something else, but I still want to stay in my whiteboard. If you go to show all boards, which is right past the trash can, this is where you can add more pages, more boards, whatever term you want to use. I'm just going to click the plus sign. You can click it as many times as you want. And then once you have selected the page you want to work with, go ahead and select, close that lovely little X, and now you're on your next page. And now because I've created some other boards, I can use these little arrows here to toggle around as I do things. But once again, I want to use a different background. My third favorite option within this feature is I can add my own custom backgrounds. So maybe there's a particular image that you like, that you captured to use for a particular lesson. My science folks talk about like the periodic tables and other things like that with math, all the equations, music, all sorts of fun stuff. There's a lot, endless possibilities. When you select add background, it's going to pull from your picture file. And so you can technically pull in, let's pull in this one random image here, any images that you want. So I'm going to grab Grumpy Cat and I'm going to apply him to a board. And now I've got Grumpy Cat on my whiteboard. And so I can use all my little tools to, do what I want. And, I can be as silly and goofy as I want or as serious as I want, but you have the ability to be as creative as you would like. So that's one of the reasons I like to demonstrate it this way is you're not limited. It doesn't have to be just a boring black and white template or a graphic organizer. If you have any media files, any image files that you've used in the past, you can still use them. If you have something that is not an image file, take a screenshot, take a photo of it, save it to your computer, and then you can use it. So you have a lot of different options available to you to be as creative and fun as you'd like. Now, if you want to save anything that you do from your whiteboard, you're just going to click more options and select save to device. Or if you use a Google Drive, you can select that option as well. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go back. Actually, I'll just clear whiteboard. Now, you might have noticed I just selected clear whiteboard and it didn't take away my background. It took away all my little markings. So keep that in mind. If you start annotating and make some mistakes, you can just hit clear and start all over again. I'm going to go ahead and hit back and go on to the next feature. So any questions about the whiteboard or play video? Doesn't look like any's come through. Feel free to use the chat or unmute yourself if you do. All right. Assessments. Not sure if anyone has used the assessment feature yet. Really recommend taking some time to maybe try it out. The assessment feature within Vivi does not replace formative assessments. It is designed to be a one-question assessment. So let me show you real quick. And it does require you to have an image to put on your display. And that image has to be created outside of this app feature. So I have a PowerPoint slide that I created for a slime lesson that was done, because who doesn't love slime? And despite all the fun my kiddos had, I want to make sure, do you remember what we talked about? Do you remember the chemical properties? You know, let's see. And so I'm going to test them. In order to put this on my display, I have to share my screen. So before I even navigate through these options to start my assessment, I need to hit share screen. And now my students can see the assessment question. Again, I'm going to pause. I'm going to go back to my home page and now set it up. You can choose whether you have a multiple choice alphabetical, numerical, true, false, yes, no, or free form question. But again, it's one question. This is a multiple choice alphabetical, so that's the option I'm going to choose. I only have 3 answer choices. You can choose 2 to 8 as a potential possibility. The optionally select the correct answers. This, at first I was kind of dismissive of, but after attending a few different districts' PD days and hearing how teachers have been leveraging this for their own use, have changed my mind. You can choose to select the correct answer. It will not display for your students, but it will capture that in the data after the poll or assessment has been ran. And by that, I mean, when you go into Vivi Central to look at the feedback section, it will show whether or not a student answered the question right or wrong. You don't have to think back. It's there for you, and it helps with easy grading. So that teacher convinced me. I was like, okay, yes, I'm going to select my correct answer moving forward. So something to consider. But once you have this part set up, last part is determining, do you want a time limit? And the time limit is attributing to how long will the student have the ability to answer your assessment question. It doesn't affect your display, but it affects the student's Vivi app. So I'm going to say no time limit, because I'm just going to be a chatty Cathy through this process and I'll probably run out of time. So now I'm going to hit start assessment. Again, my students have been instructed on your app, please answer the assessment question that's on the display. As the teacher on my app, I have a little screenshot of what the question is. I can see who's logged in to their Vivi app at this time. And I can see in real time their answers as they come in. Now, the student, this is what it looks like for the student. They get a green bar going across the bottom, and they have the answer choices. That's why knowing that these two correlate is very important. So now student answers, and that goes away. But remember, I'm actively sharing my screen. They can take a screenshot. All right. So now I have full participation of my very big class. I'm going to hit stop assessment. And now I have my data. So I have a split class here. Who's right, who's wrong? But I can organize my data in a variety of different ways. Once I'm done with everything, I can hit stop all, stop sharing my screen. Everything goes back to normal. Once I navigate out of this page, this data is gone until I log into Vivi Central. Now, polls, very similar to the assessments, except you don't have to build anything beforehand. Polls utilizes up to 5 templates that are already predetermined, whether your school administrators decided to change them or leave them at the Vivi default settings, but they operate the same way. You'll simply select your template from the dropdown, and these questions are more social emotional in nature. So just checking in on, how are you feeling? Is everything okay? How are you feeling socially? How do you feel about what we learned? And how do you feel about the lesson? So maybe I just want to get a temp check. Maybe it's, I remember 6th grade being kind of a rough year. So maybe with my 6th graders, how are you doing? You feeling okay? You acclimating to your new school? All right. And so I want to go ahead and start my poll. Again, you can have a time limit. You don't have to. The question will display on the student's Vivi device, and their answer choices are emoji based. And so I'm going to hit start poll. Again, with polls, nothing is on your display. It's all on their Vivi device. And so students are going to answer in real time. Here we go. So how do I feel socially? And I've got all my stuff. We'll say she's overwhelmed. Okay. All right. So now I can see, again, I'm going to stop my poll. Got all my kiddos have answered. All right. Herbert seems to be doing pretty good. Love that for him. Caitlin, I might need to pull her out real quick, have a little sidebar conversation just to make sure she's doing okay and see if I can help her in any way. So this can be a really great tool to leverage, especially if you have a large class, you have a lot going on. It's hard to check in with every kid every day. So you can use this as kind of a guide for, okay, who do I need to have, my focus on? Or you don't have to use it. It's entirely up to you, but it is a tool in your tool belt for your classroom if you choose to do so. I only feel it's right to show you Vivi Central just because I've been talking about it so much. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. If you haven't been given access or logged into Vivi Central before, I would recommend it. The website is admin.vivi.io. And there is a link for your specific account. If that's been shared with you, that'll get you directly to where you need to be. I'm going to pull my screen over here. All right. My Vivi Central looks totally different because I am my IT admin for my fake school. So I have a lot of options here. But the section that you want to focus on when it comes to assessment and polls is this feedback area. And under feedback, you have the ability to search all of your well-being templates or polls or your assessments that you've launched. You can drill down by format of the test or assessment question you chose or the poll question you chose. One thing that I find to be really helpful, especially if you have large classes, especially if you're going to be using this as more of a participation grade component, you can filter down by students. So if you're trying to go through your grade book, or maybe you have a parent conference and you need to get some info real quick, you can search for just that one student and go from there. But as we can see, I have on the left-hand side the names of all the templates that I've ran. Polls will simply be the poll question. Assessments will be the type of assessment you ran. You can look at the date and the time for indication of when that was completed, and you can see your responses. When you select a former assessment that was used, you'll see your little snapshot of your test question so you remember it. You get your data. And remember, I said I selected the correct answer. So the little check mark here means correct. And then the X is obviously wrong. I can see who was right, who was wrong, and at what time. So this really makes it really fast to enter in, grades and information. You also have the ability to download anything that you do into a CSV file. So if you wanted to, choose a day, pull this information, take it with you, deal with it later at home, you can do that. So I just wanted to briefly show you where all this data is housed. All right. Good deal. Clocks and timers. I know we're running very close on time, so please forgive me. I'll try to speed this along. You do have the ability to leverage your classroom display as a clock, stopwatch, or timer. You simply choose one of your options here, choose your format, hit display, and now your display is a clock. When you're done, hit stop. Timer, same thing. Choose your options, choose whether it repeats, choose whether you hear something or not, hit display. So timers are great, especially around testing time, group activity time. You want to limit it to a couple minutes, move on. Right now, this is a standalone feature. We are working on integrating this feature in other areas. For example, you're actively sharing your screen, you have a little clock in the corner. You're playing media content, maybe there's a timer. So again, more information to come, but this is how this feature is designed right now. When you're done, you hit stop. Wellness is super beneficial, especially with stressful times. This is a free resource available to you to utilize in your class. If you want to partake in any guided breathing or meditation exercises with your class, feel free to. You don't have to log in separately. You don't have to subscribe to anything. It's all included on the Vivi app. This is a purely audio function. You just select whatever content you want to play. It automatically will start loading. Your display will turn a purple color with the title of what you've chosen. And this is purely audio, so make sure your volume's up. And then you can just listen with your class. Or you can listen on your own after class is left and you're on your way home and you just need a minute. However you want to leverage this. But once you're done, you can hit stop and go back. So that's the wellness tool. And then last but not least, messaging your class. I had horrible handwriting, still do. Writing on the chalkboard, yes, I said chalkboard, was very difficult for my students to read. So I've spent half my time yelling over them of what they're supposed to do. This makes it a lot easier. You can send out a message to your entire class simultaneously with instructions. So maybe you want them to review a video. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a video link real quick. And you don't want them to navigate the lovely World Wide Web and end up in the wrong area. So by adding a video link, it will hyperlink once you send. All right, send message. Once you hit send, you get confirmation you did that. Notice my link is automatically hyperlinked. My students are notified with this little indicator right here. So it's important that they're in their app. It's not going to alert them like our cell phones do with other alerts and notifications. They have to be paying attention to the app. When they click on it, they can see your message. They can click directly to the link they need, and they're right on the page that they need to have. So it can definitely be a very beneficial tool. It's a one-way communication system. They can't send a message to you. They can't send a message to their classmates. It's purely a way for you to instruct your students of what they need to know. Once you clear that message away, the indication goes back and everything is back to normal. So that is it. We went a little bit over. My apologies. I do know that time is very, very valuable to all of us right now, but especially teachers. Are there any last minute questions that I can answer? Anything on anybody's mind before I let you all go? If not, I
I have one.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to know if there's any differences in how Vivi connects to a TV as opposed to a Promethean board.
Technically, no, there isn't.
Okay.
That should all be set up the same way. We have schools that use a TV, a computer monitor, a Promethean, Apple TV. I mean, there you name it.
Okay.
There's people using it. So no, once your IT folks have installed the Vivi devices the right way, it should all work the same way. It
Okay.
doesn't
Very good.
necessarily matter. Yeah, it shouldn't.
Thank you.
No problem. Great question, though. Any other questions?
I have one more. I was wondering if there are any quality settings, like video quality settings through Vivi, because when I use Google Slides and hook it up with my HDMI, my students can read it. When I put it through Vivi, they can't because it's blurry.
Oh, goodness, that's a good question. What I don't know that answer off the top of my head, but what I do know is we do have some information pertaining to Google Slides. I will reach out to some of my tech people to see if they have suggestions.
Okay.
I have a colleague of mine who has an account that is really heavy with Google Slides, and she might know.
Okay.
Let me include that in my follow-up email that I'll be sending to Liz, and she can pass that on to you. Does that work okay?
Yes, that would be awesome. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
not a problem. Happy to help. Anyone else have any other kind of tech spec questions like that, or any issues they faced that I can look into for you and get you some answers? Maybe you don't remember. It's been a long day for everybody. All right. Well, if no other questions, no problems, or if you think of stuff after the fact, feel free to reach out. I did enter a little Zoom link, a link in the Zoom chat, pardon me. It's a 1-question survey. If you wouldn't mind filling it out, I'd greatly appreciate it. Always wanting to, provide the best service possible and the best training experience for everybody. I do have my contact information on the screen as well. Feel free if you just need something, not sure where to go, I'll always point you in the right direction. And if I don't know the answer, I'll figure it out and find it for you. But I just want to thank you all for your time. Thank you so much for all you do for your students. I wish you the best of luck starting this new school year, and have a great rest of your day. You're very welcome. Bye, guys.